Hey everybody, today we're out at the North Dakota State Fair Center for the Dakota Flea Market, where our good friend and fellow coin dealer Skip is set up selling coins and precious metals. We're going to go in and have a nice visit with Skip and talk about current markets, and we're going to try something a little new today. We're going to ask for Skip's advice on what new stackers should be stacking in their precious metal piles today based on current markets and current trends. So I'm excited to see what Skip will have to say. And we'll also showcase some of the cool things he brought out to sell at the flea market today. We should have a fun video in store for you all. Be sure to stick around. Here comes the celebrity now.
In person.
In person. Hey everybody, we're out here at the Dakota Flea Market joined by my good friend Skip. How is it going, Skip?
Going good, Josh. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning, good morning. So, what people are dying to know is your thoughts on the precious metals markets now that we're past the election cycle. There's been a clear winner, clear shift in our country's politics. How do you feel that's going to affect metals through the end of the year and maybe up to inauguration?
So that's pretty much the question everybody has been asking, right? So my answer to that is the underlying fundamentals of why we buy gold, why we buy silver, and why we hang on to it has not changed. We had an election. We have a new group of people who are going to be in charge. They're not going to be able to fix everything. In a few years, there will be other people in charge. If prices come down, it's going to be an opportunity to add more, but it's not a reason to not keep stacking.
Good advice. So you mentioned you believe prices are going to come down. Is that kind of your forecast, or
not necessarily?
You're just saying if and when they do.
If they come down, then you can add even more. But I'm a big believer in being consistent. You know, some of the people that are working people, for instance, buy some every payday type of thing. You know,
Yeah.
Others, if you want to buy once a month or throw money in a kitty, and when you get enough, go buy some. But always use money you don't need, right?
Yep.
But just kind of keep at it. That's the best advice I can give.
Yeah, that is great advice. So next thing I'd like to ask you is, what do you have out here that's new? And you want to do some show and tells? And I know you're holding something right now, so maybe we'll talk about that
something
first.
I'm playing with.
Can I zoom in on that and you can talk about
Sure.
it?
How does that work? Does that zoom like that, or?
Yep, that zooms pretty well. Here,
Okay.
I rotate it a little bit. There we
Okay,
go.
there you go.
Okay, so what are you holding there?
I'm holding a counterfeit eagle.
Okay,
So,
zooming back out here.
yeah.
So
And this is just a warning to everybody. Know who you're buying from. Be very careful when you're buying on the internet, on the street corner, whatever it is. Know who you're buying from.
Sure.
Just be careful, because there is counterfeit stuff out there.
Yep.
And there's been some sad situations of people have gotten burned seriously, and I just hate that. So
Yeah.
know who you're buying from.
So that's great advice. So tell me, I'll zoom in a little closer and show everybody. So how did you come about this? And what kind of tipped you off to the fact that it wasn't real? Go ahead.
So when we look at this, everything is wrong with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
The color, the size, just picking it up in my hand. When I picked it up, I says, "Oh, that's about 25 grams, which is 6 grams short." And we weighed it, and it was 24.2 grams.
That's impressive.
I impressed myself on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's size, weight, everything. And these are floating out there. You see these, I see them once in a while, an ad come up on Facebook for eagles for $19.95.
Yes.
This is what you get for $19.95, something that is worth nothing.
Yeah. Absolutely. So buyer beware.
Buyer beware.
Buyer beware. So what
enough
other
of that.
what other goodies did you bring out to the flea
Well,
market?
let's talk about some real stuff.
Okay, great. What can you show us?
$500 bills.
Yeah, I see you got a
Everybody
couple
says-
of them there.
Yeah, are those real? Absolutely, they're real.
Oh, you get questions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
A lot of people don't know they exist.
great. And bigger bills besides, you know.
Yep. Yeah, those are both very nice.
And we have some gold stuff in here, a little bit of gold buffaloes, which are always nice, you know, to have. I've got some earlier proof sets, like 40. Here's a type 1 42. And I think this is a 40. Is that a 41? This is not a proof set, but it's just a type set somebody put together.
Okay.
But it's a really nice 1937 type set. I think those are fun things. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, very nice. So what are people buying this weekend? Is it mostly gold, mostly silver, mostly collectibles?
Collectibles are a little slower.
Okay.
Gold has been okay, and we've sold some silver. So
Okay.
yeah.
So overall, a decent weekend.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'd like to ask you today. So for a lot of people that watch my channel are new stackers or have not stacked silver ever in their life, and they're coming for information.
Right.
So from a seasoned professional like you, I think it'd be nice to get your opinion on if you were first starting out, or what advice would you give to somebody first starting out that has $10,000 to invest in precious metal? If you could kind of walk me through and show me with the things that you've brought, what you feel they should buy and why.
Right. I'm a big believer in kind of half and half.
Okay.
We just did. I just had a guy this last week. We did his. He'd come in. It was more money than that, but he was a first-time guy, and we bought some gold and a fair amount of silver with it. It wasn't quite half and half, but it was leaned a little harder towards silver. But he's going to add more later and bring the gold side of it up. I've told a lot of people over the years, 10 ounces of gold, 1,000 ounces of silver is just a nice little insurance policy to have tucked over in the corner of the gun safe.
Yep.
If you want to be more serious than that and have more, or it's all kind of looks at what's your assets, right? If you've got tons and tons of assets, maybe you want more gold and silver to protect that, right? So 5% rule, 10% rule.
Yeah, different numbers will apply to different people.
Exactly, it's all different.
So with that, let's just say it's $6,000 in gold. That's a little closer to, 2 ounces plus a little. What would you recommend people buy? I noticed that you have out here primarily U.S. gold.
Right.
Is that kind of where you would steer people to buy U.S. gold?
Not necessarily.
What are some pros of U.S. gold over other countries?
It's the deluxe model, so to speak.
Right.
It's the John Deere versus the Kubota. Right.
That's a farm. That's a farm comparison for all you who don't know that.
But it's the top of the line tractor versus one that's further down the line, right?
Right. Yep.
So my favorites are Krugerrands, Maple Leafs, and Eagles, right?
Okay.
Well, Buffalo's my keen favorite, but just for the looks of it and what it is. But U.S. Gold is basically top of the line, but there's nothing wrong with Maple Leafs, and they're a little bit cheaper, and they're easily recognizable, right?
Yep.
And as you can see, we had some Maple Leafs and Krugerrand stuff like that yesterday, and that's what sold.
Because of the cheaper price.
It's a little cheaper.
Yep.
Exactly.
And it's not much cheaper. I mean,
Exactly.
But it's
the Gold Buffalo.
Yep.
Top of the line.
Yep.
Okay. If you wanted to have one gold piece, and you're gonna pay an extra maybe $50 for it, maybe. Okay. But it's awful pretty. They're pretty cool.
They are. It's a beautiful coin.
It is a beautiful coin. So it just kind of depends on what you're doing.
Okay. So
If you're going for real quantity, a lot of times we'll do Maple Leafs because it's a little bit cheaper in price. It's the number 2 in the world. It's easily recognizable. They're pure gold, so they're a tiny bit smaller for space.
sure.
Okay, than the U.S. 1 ounce U.S. gold has got another 10% of other alloys in there. Okay. So it's a little heavier, takes up a little more space than a Maple Leaf.
Right.
So,
Yep.
again, different preference.
Exactly. So you covered gold. So let's just say that was half, or approximately $6,000 based on current gold, maybe 5,800 or something like that, but
Right.
5,600. So what would you spend the remaining on in silver? Now, obviously you have some different options here, and if you can walk me through, and most of it's in this case. I mean, I can see that you have
Yep.
privately minted rounds.
Yep.
You have
And
larger size bars.
So we're going to go with privately minted rounds for about half of it, and then a mixture of 10-ounce bars.
Okay. And why those two? Why would you recommend those two?
For smaller stashes, you always want to have some smaller pieces involved. So you start with the small pieces. Now, if we look at the 100-ounce there, now if you're going to be seriously stacking thousands and thousands of ounces, there's nothing wrong with having a bunch of 100-ounce bars, because it takes up a lot less space, and you're not buying them for barter or anything else. You're buying them betting
to hold
on
them.
Yeah, yep. Exactly. So that's how the three sizes kind of fit in there. There's all kinds of different stuff. I mean, right now we have a bunch of bars.
1 ounce bars, yeah.
Which we are very fortunate to have a few of those right now. But the 1 ounce bars are usually a little higher priced than the rounds.
Yep, and why is that?
There's just not as many of them being made, and the rounds are where the bulk market is. Okay,
Right.
They're cheaper from the wholesalers, the guys that are making them. I mean, it's just cheaper all the way along.
Yeah, it comes down to production costs, you're right?
Yep,
And that added cost gets passed along to everybody else if you want to buy a
Absolutely.
1 ounce bar.
That's how business works.
So I have a pinpointed question here, because your list was great, and I appreciate you doing that, but you omitted one that I'm a little surprised you omitted this, 90% silver. So would you consider putting that in the mix, or is there a reason you didn't talk about 90% silver based on current markets?
Right. So the 90% is very useful for if you're a prepper, so to speak,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
And looking at that, that's where the 90% really comes into play. We'll move down and look at some silver dollars down here. But yeah, the 90%, because you've got a dime, you've got a quarter, you got a half, you got lots of smaller pieces.
Yep.
If you're looking at a barter situation at some point in time, or even currently, I know there's some bartering going on now with silver.
There is. I've seen it myself too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's useful for that. Okay. So I didn't leave it out on purpose. We sell a fair amount of 90%. I've got
Sure.
personally have some 90%. Silver dollars are technically 90%.
Right.
And I've got have a lot of silver dollars.
I see that.
No, you're not seeing all of them. I have a lot of silver dollars. So, and we didn't talk about sovereign silver, right?
Right.
And when we're talking about somebody just getting started, we're trying to get them the most bang for their buck.
Absolutely. Yep.
And sovereign doesn't really fit into that. Although some people like the idea of having a U.S. Silver Eagle because it's a U.S. Silver Eagle $1 coin, or a Canadian Maple Leaf $5 coin, etc. Okay, they like that idea that it is what it is, and a little more assurance of purity, quality, and everything else, right?
Sure.
So, but you pay a premium for that, right?
You do. Yeah. I agree with the best bang for your buck methodology, especially for beginners.
Yep, exactly.
They can feel they walk away
Yep.
with the most metal possible for what they paid.
Yep, and that's where I always start with everybody.
Yep.
Unless they come in and tell me they have some other goals or some other things they're thinking about. If they're thinking of a legacy,
Right.
for instance, okay, well then maybe you want to talk about putting together a set of Silver Eagles or something. You know, that's more of a legacy item, and you still get the silver, right?
Yep.
So
Great point.
And that's, as a for instance, like right here. So here's a full set of Silver Eagles,
Yep.
right? In a Dansko album, which these are probably one of the better albums out there,
Yeah,
right?
that's the Mercedes of albums for sure.
Pretty much, yeah. So this is a complete set. So you can buy 36 ounces of silver in the album, all the years starting from 1986 when it started, all the way up until 1921, 2021. Dating myself on that.
Yeah,
one.
I would say.
I'm not quite that old, but
Okay, well that's great. Well, hey, I have one more question that's impossible to answer, but do your best.
oh, perfect. I love those
'Cause
questions.
these are the things people want to know that we can never tell people for sure. But by the end of the year, Okay, I should clarify, as we film this, silver is approximately $31.40 per ounce. That's the current silver ask price, give or take. Gold is about $2,685 per ounce. It's November 10th, 2024. December 31st, 2024, end of the year. Is gold and silver higher? Is it lower? Or is it flat? Or is one higher and one lower? Or vice versa, in your opinion? Not asking for raw numbers.
Right.
Just thoughts based on what's transpired the last week with election, how that might impact, the economy moving forward and people's sentiment towards metals. So what's your take?
So my gut feeling, which should count because I have a large gut, is that we're going to probably be about the same.
Okay.
Okay. There'll probably be a little resistance now. We're going into also the Christmas season, remember? So demand and et cetera might slow up on some of this, okay?
It tends to, you're right.
So, but I think there's the underlying pressure is still there to keep the prices somewhat where they're at, okay? So I'm thinking basically flat.
Relatively
within
flat.
a trading range, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, good. I think that's a very intelligent take on it. I was hoping you wouldn't tell me, gold to 5,000, silver. Skip would never do that, folks.
No.
But there are talking heads out there that do. But
I know.
I appreciate your clarity and your honesty. It's always fun to talk to you. Any final parting words?
just keep at it, people. Keep at it. Keep taking care of your financial house. Keep putting away a little gold and a little silver. Take care of your families.
Great advice. Appreciate you, Skip. Thanks again.
Thank you, Josh.
You bet.